Ooh, that's loud. I'm Kat.
I'm Hayley.
And this is Night Classy, the podcast where tipsy teachers teach fascinating lessons.
Your ears are blasted out now.
I'm frantically motioning to Alec to turn my headphones on. What are we drinking, Hayley?
We have our Kirkland brand hard seltzers. Bow, bow, bow.
Bow, bow, bow.
I have mango.
I had lime, and now I'm on to grapefruit. So
I'm about to move on to my next one, which is the cranberry Bud Light seltzer.
The cranberry Bud Light seltzers slap hard.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I'm definitely feeling it. At first, the blood alcohol content inspector said that I blew 0.000, but upon reblowing is not 0.000.
Then she blew a 0.55. Then she blew a 0.25. So I'm remiss that we spent over $100 on a breathalyzer and it still does not work.
I don't know what. I wonder if blowing harder or softer into it affects it.
Yeah, I wonder that too. And I wonder if you're using it consecutively really fast, it has residual in it and it gets confused.
Yeah, maybe we get it drunk when we blow our alcohol-infused air into it.
Oh my God, let's anthropomorphize the breathalyzer.
Yes.
It makes me wonder though if police breathalyzers are accurate.
Me too. I was just thinking that.
Ours was expensive and it does not, it's not accurate at all.
I wonder how much a police scanner is. Not scanner, but the breathalyzer.
I don't know. I would imagine very expensive.
Yeah. Also, breathalyzer doesn't feel like a formal term to me. It sounds like a made up word, which I guess all words are made up.
It sounds like a brand name. Not what it is.
Yeah, not an item name.
Yeah.
It's too flashy.
Maybe we need a breathalyzer that's marketed as a blood alcohol content detector. A little more formal.
We need to make up our own way of figuring out who is more intoxicated.
Wait,
a night classy version.
New merch idea.
Okay.
We make our own breathalyzer.
Oh my gosh. What is it?
It's a breathalyzer that says Night Classy.
Bedazzled.
Yes, bedazzled.
Okay.
I'm ready to just have a business where I have regular things, but we make them pink and bedazzled. Because it's a real problem in my life where I want a pink and bedazzled version of a thing, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think it was last Christmas I got you a pink sparkly picture frame, and I was like, I have no idea if she even needs a picture frame, but it's pink and it's sparkly, and we're gonna make it work.
I thought you painted it.
No, it was
this
just
whole
at TJ
time.
Maxx.
I thought you made it.
Oh yes,
I'm disappointed.
I made it. Well, sorry to disappoint.
That is
just
disappointing.
Erase that. Also, Alec, can I get my headphones turned up, please?
Yes.
I feel like I'm struggling to hear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Opposite problems over
See,
here.
you have Kat's headphones from when we did Patreon, and she likes them so low.
That's the problem.
I like them loud.
I have fragile ears, apparently.
Oh, I think I have earwax and just poor hearing.
I think I might be going deaf too, because I'm always like, how do you want it softer?
Well, it's loud. Even this is loud to me. I guess I just have perfect ears and perfect eyes. It's not a big deal or anything, but
well, I wouldn't say perfect if they're so sensitive that you can barely function.
They hear really well. They do their job. I could hear a pin drop from across the room.
Okay. Listen closely. Where is the pin dropping?
Far right corner.
No, it's not in this room.
Oh, I meant far right
Around
corner
the world.
of the building.
What country is the pin dropping? There's got to be a pin dropping somewhere.
Estonia.
No.
Oh, where was it?
I don't know. I don't have the years. I just sense that you're wrong.
Okay. I always thought I had bad hearing because when they made us do those, remember taking those hearing tests in school and you'd have to hear which ear the beeping was coming from.
Yeah.
And I'd always get so stressed out that I'd fail. But I actually could hear it. I was just so nervous that I was going to do a bad job.
That you did a bad job.
That I did a bad
job. You
job.
just set yourself up. Mm-hmm. Wow, that was me on reading tests, but I don't know. I'm still a bad reader. Those tests are nerve-wracking though.
Reading tests are scary as fuck.
I'm in school. I'm not used to having my hearing tested or the freaking scoliosis test where they're
oh
like,
my God, I forgot
bend
about those.
over and let me feel you up.
You have to take your shirt off in front of the nurse at school behind a thin curtain, and your classmates are sitting on the other side. It's very
so
scary.
Wrong. We had to do it all at the same time. Like
what?
Everyone line up, take your shirts up, bend over. And they just went down the row.
What are you talking about?
Did
they separate the genders at least?
Yes.
Okay.
They did do that.
Still, that sounds extra traumatic. I think we went one by one, which helps.
Yeah, they were
still
like,
not the best.
Fuck them kids is what they said.
I understand the reason why we did those tests, but like it's scary. Scoliosis day is scary.
Yeah, at least get me a private room
and then like
buy me lunch first.
And then growing up, you don't have scoliosis because you've been to the doctor before, but it's still like always that feeling like, what if this is the day where they tell me I have this? And I had a friend who, in middle school, she had pretty bad scoliosis and she got the surgery and had like the rods put in her back.
Yeah.
And I saw her go through that and how traumatic it was. And so then every time I had to get a scoliosis test, I was just like terrified.
Is my life about to change?
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, I went to the chiropractor in high school, and that's when I found out that like a couple of my vertebrae twist in opposite directions, which creates this like just constant pinched nerve, and it just will flare up sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to my pediatrician for it beforehand, and she was like, just take some Advil. I'm sure like you're fine. Just take some Advil. Like they don't even investigate what the actual problem is so much of the time. And they took an x-ray at the chiropractor, and he was like, oh yeah, look, you can see it right there. Your back is fucked.
So were you born that way? Or did something happen?
Nothing happened. He gave me some stretches and exercises to do. I should probably go to the chiropractor in actual adulthood now. But yeah, they help. I got like my pelvis got fucked up from playing soccer so much when I was like a kid and my bones were still setting. Oh, wow.
So my pelvis like was rotated forward and cocked to the side, and it was causing all these like issues. So I had to go to physical therapy, and they'd have me do these exercises, and I'd sit on like a yoga ball and basically like hump it. And that's how I got better.
You're like, oh, this feels good in so many different ways. Oh, nice. That's good. That's good.
It was good times.
I'm like, all right, grab the Lysol wipe it down before you go. That's crazy that your bone development was affected.
Yeah, I think it was probably, I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was. Just probably like a lot of like repetitive movement of my legs, and then also maybe falling so much. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly what it was, but it knocked everything out of whack, and I was having like shooting pains at my back. And so, physical therapy it was.
That's why you should not play sports.
That's what I'm saying.
Sports are the devil.
Also, I was thinking about it. I went to my students' basketball game on Friday, and I really enjoyed it. And it was the first time I'd ever like enjoyed watching sports. Wow. And I think it was because like they were my kids, and I was excited to cheer them on. I'm like, okay, this is why our parents want us to play sports. Because before that, I was like, I don't want my kids to play sports because then I have to go to the fucking games.
Yeah.
But now I kind of get it.
If it's enjoyable, if it's you're a kid, you have something invested. I know one of the teachers at my school, she's always talking about, oh, I'm so tired, but I have to go to my daughter's game at 4:30 after this. And I'm like, you do this like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
You're a better mom than I would be.
Oh, God. I know. My parents were so good. They actually went to my games, and I was so ungrateful. Like, I didn't care if they were there or not. And looking back, I'm like, they really showed up, and I should have been more grateful because that would have sucked.
Yeah.
They have to stand outside in the pouring, freezing cold rain watching a 90-minute soccer game. Mm-hmm. That is absurd.
My mom would stay in the car during my lacrosse practices. That was like 4 or 5 times a week. Dang. Just to save on gas because we lived so far out from where the actual practice was. It was not even worth it to go home.
Our parents loved
us. What a trooper.
Us.
Yeah, they did. I don't know what happened.
I don't know why.
But I don't know. I have no clue why. I was such a bitchy teenager.
Oh my God. I was a huge bitch.
I was looking like I do at houses on Zillow that I can't afford yesterday. And I was looking at listings that were sold by the owner instead of the agents. And the pictures are just terrible. Like they're not professional at all. And it reminded me of when our house was for sale after my parents were getting divorced, and it was the day that the real estate photographer was coming. And my mom was like, make sure your room is clean because they're coming before you even get home from school. So it has to be clean when we leave. And I was so distraught about the divorce and losing our house that I like purposefully made it look worse, threw my clothes everywhere. It was a wreck. Like my room is usually a wreck, but I just made it look so bad. And now I feel really bad for what I did. It stressed out my mom, and she had to clean my room for the photographer and everything.
And you think you're punishing like the guilty parties, but really you're just punishing your mom, who's also grieving over a divorce.
Yes. So awful. God, teens are the worst.
Yeah, it's rough out there. I'm scared if I ever have kids.
Me too. I think that's why boarding schools probably exist. Just send them off.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see the reasoning. We have a few housekeeping things to get to.
We do.
First of all, we recorded a Patreon episode with John
Miller.
And it was really fun. He had some stressful things happening to him right before we recorded. He got a flat tire, and then this caused him to show up without notes. So we winged it. And you can tell, but it made it even better.
Yes, it was so fun. A lot of riffing. He perseveres way more than either of us ever would or could. And it was just a ton of fun. If you're on Patreon, you probably remember the episode that John did for us a few months back now.
Yeah, it was a while ago. But yeah, he's a local comedian here in Memphis. He is hilarious and did a great lesson. So definitely go check that out. Will it be out by the time this comes out? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. It'll be up. Check it out. And then do you want to talk about the next thing?
Sure. So right now, today, we are batch recording because we're going on winter break. We're both leaving. And for the end of the year, instead of us stressing and having to record from our various locations we're in, we're having you all Night Classy listeners vote on your favorite of all time lessons that Kat and I have ever done. And we're going to Frankenstein the top voted 2 lessons, one from Kat and one from myself, for an end of the year episode, greatest of all time, hit Night Classy. So it will be kind of interesting to hear what we're talking about in each lesson in regards to like our lives and from when the episode came from.
Oh my gosh, are we going to include the intros? We're not going to include the intros, right?
Right, but we have little anecdotes that we talk about from our lives at that time.
That
will
be weird.
One of them coming from like quarantine or something.
This show is such a weird time capsule.
It is.
Of our lives.
So go vote. We're going to close that out. I want to say this Saturday when you're hearing this.
Sure.
So that we can figure out and get it all edited and everything. That's just in our link tree. That can be found in all of our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. It's in our bio there. So just go vote.
And it's also in the show notes.
And in the show notes. Go vote so we can put together this mega episode. We'll be back at the beginning of 2022 with our fresh new episodes. But just warning you guys, the last episode of this year is going to be different.
A little different, but there will be a Christmas episode. We're recording a Christmas episode right after this. And then there will be that episode, but it'll be fun. And I have one last thing, and we got a new Patreon.
Oh, yes, we did.
It is Anna Kay of Charleston, South Carolina. She is a 4th-year teacher. She's killing the game, and we love her. Thank you so much, Anna, for joining Patreon.
Thanks, Anna.
She also, Alex said that her favorite part of our episodes is when she hears you laugh.
What was her name?
Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
That was my impression.
That was good, yeah.
The best ones are when you're not mic'd and you just like hear it in the background.
Hopefully we'll get a few of those new listeners. You can hear it today. Hopefully if the girls do a good job.
Yeah, now I'm feeling the pressure.
Also, I misunderstood the assignment for this entire month as we talked about in the car. I thought we were doing just all holiday/Christmas theme lessons. So that's why all of mine have been Christmas
Maybe
themed.
I misunderstood the assignment and didn't realize that I was supposed to do Christmas themes.
I feel like somewhere along the line, we probably both misunderstood a little bit here and a little bit there.
I mean, we both followed our heart.
We did. It's fine. It's fine.
Everything's fine. So we breathalyzed. I blew a .019.
I blew a .025. I already can't read, so that's a good sign that I'm going first. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to talk about at the time. That was a terrible start to this lesson. I'm going to teach a lesson about what was at the time it occurred, Texas's most infamous crime that led to the largest manhunt the state had ever seen.
I thought you said you did a Christmas lesson.
Well, you need to just sit down and wait because
So impatient.
you know what?
It doesn't sound like a Christmas.
If you had to
topic, I'm
guess,
just
how do
saying.
you think Christmas is going to tie into all this?
Someone gets murdered on Christmas.
Okay, you have your guess.
Santa murders someone.
You have your guess.
Okay.
We just have to wait and see.
Okay.
So our main character is Marshall Ratliff and his
Ew.
brother Lee. They were career criminals. They robbed a bank in Valera, Texas, and they only ended up serving a year of their sentences before being pardoned by Governor Miriam A. Ferguson. And pretty much immediately after they got out, they were like, we need to rob another bank. We need money, and we're surely not going to work. So they make a plan, the two brothers, to rob the First National Bank of Cisco. But life kind of shat on their plans as Lee was arrested pretty much immediately after they got out of prison again.
For what?
I don't know. I think they were just constantly doing things. I couldn't figure out what he got arrested for, if it was something that they'd been waiting to get him on as soon as he was done serving that initial.
That's just mean. Just do it all at once.
Yeah, I know, right? Right? But especially if he was committing crimes in another state or something like that. But Lee's out of the plan. So he's in jail, and Marshall ended up enlisting the help of a man of the last name Helms Hill and a fourth man who was good with safes. And as the men planned the robbery in Wichita Falls, their plan was foiled again when Davis, the guy who was good with safes, came down with the flu. He was very sick. And I'm like, at this point, maybe just rethink, because several times this plan has been foiled and it's clearly not going how you want it to already. But they were not going to give up. They had to bring in another member of their team, and they recruited a man with the last name Davis. He was a broke family man, but they offered him a bunch of money if they could successfully pull off the robbery with his help. So despite having never even run into any trouble with the law, he agreed he needed Christmas money. So he was like, okay.
That's so sad.
I know. I know,
like
right?
that.
He had like 4 kids. And this was on December 23rd. Our lesson takes place in 1927.
Dang.
So the 4 men set off. They stole a car in Wichita Falls and made their way to Cisco, Texas. And they arrived in the morning on December 23rd. And at the time, I feel like all crime was pretty easy to commit and get away with because, you know, they didn't have DNA. They're not doing a ton of forensic. There's no cameras.
Yeah, it must have been so easy. I don't understand why everyone wasn't robbing banks in the 1920s.
Would you have robbed a bank?
Yes, 100%.
Oh my God. I don't think I could have. I'm too good.
I probably wouldn't have been able to either, but
you would have been born into wealth. I can just see it.
I wish I was born into wealth in 1997.
God, me too. Jesus. At the time, bank robberies in Texas were running rampant. There was an average of 3 to 4 bank robberies a day.
I mean, yeah, there were no consequences.
People stayed robbing. As a result, the Texas Bank Association offered a $5,000 reward to any citizen who shot a bank robber while they were robbing the bank.
I guess there's a consequence. Everyone had a gun.
Everyone had a freaking gun. And just for reference, that $5,000 would have been almost $80,000 today.
Hell, I would have.
So everyone's ready.
Screw being a bank robber. I'm going to go shoot some bank robbers.
Screw being a liberal. I would get a gun. So, spoiler alert, all the Texans are fucking ready to shoot and make some money. They're just always toting their guns, even more so now after this reward comes out.
Hayley, would you come up with a plan and we could draw
One
straws?
of us shoots each
One of us pretends to rob a bank, the other one shoots them, and we split the 80 grand.
Yes, absolutely. We got to bring a doctor into the plan so that, we can
Just aim at the foot.
aim.
I shot her. Didn't kill her, but I shot her.
Yes, I would definitely do that. Would you do that?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
I think that would be the perfect plan. I don't know why these gentlemen didn't do that, but you'll find out they were pretty stupid.
Okay.
So the foursome was a couple blocks away from the bank when Ratliff changed into a disguise because he knew anyone would recognize him right away. He was a pretty infamous criminal at the time. And Ratliff donned a Santa suit that he borrowed from Miss Midge Tellett. She was the person who ran the boarding house the men were staying at in Wichita Falls. So once he's in his Santa suit, Ratliff hopped out of the car and started walking the rest of the way to the bank. Alec, I have a picture of the bank if you want to show it.
Yeah, that's what banks looked like back then. It
Yeah,
looks like
just
a
all
brick
glass.
box, and it's all the front of it is all glass.
Yep. So, of course, in his Santa suit, Ratliff.
He wishes his name was Radcliffe.
I know, right? I wish his name was Ratliff. He was followed by a ton of children who wanted to walk with Santa and talk with Santa.
That's how you don't get shot.
Yeah,
you go
have
in
the
with
kids.
a group of children. No one's
Kid
going to shoot
shield.
you.
He would stop and say hello, answer questions, chit chat with the kids, give them hugs, pat them on the head. He really enjoyed. I think he should have just stuck with being Santa, made his money that way. It would have been much better for
This could be
everyone.
a Christmas movie. Like the criminal dresses up as Santa and then realizes the true meaning of Christmas on his way to commit a crime.
Oh my God. Okay, you need to submit that to Hallmark because
you're so
that would
right.
get picked up.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even really have to be that good of a writer. You're a great writer, but
But
I
it
mean, you don't
involves
have to be that
crime,
good.
right? Isn't crime off limits?
They are fine with crime, right?
Yeah,
As long as
yeah,
it's
they're-
not too much.
Yeah, I don't think crime was as like non-violent, so maybe it'd be like, I don't
A
know.
robber that doesn't kill anyone. They just rob.
The pacifist robber. Okay, so all these kids are following him, wanting to talk. A ton of people were out and about. No one really thought anything about Santa walking down the street into a bank just 2 days before Christmas. So Ratliff/Santa led the way into the bank with these children following him, and everyone's like, "Oh, Santa! Hey, Santa!" The cashier's like, "Hello, welcome in." But his demeanor immediately changes. He ignores all of the greetings, and along with the children following Santa, his 3 associates also kind of mingled in with them, and they all drew their guns, and Santa snarled, "Hands up!" So everyone's
the kids
like,
all just start screaming.
"This is not what I asked for Christmas."
One kid is like, "This is exactly what I asked for Christmas."
He's like, "Finally, I get to shoot somebody and make myself $5,000. Okay, so everyone is realizing that this is a robbery. Santa pushes through the swinging door behind the counter. He goes into the cashier's cage and opened a drawer under the counter and removed the pistol that was kept in that drawer. And he stuffs it under his Santa suit. And the other 3 men started covering the customers' heads as well as the employees. And Santa grabbed money from the tellers and forced them to open the vault. And while all this was going down, the doors to the bank were still unlocked. No one thought to lock it behind them to keep people in.
I mean, it's a bank. Oh, the doors. Oh, so people could leave.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the door to the money. I'm like, well,
Well,
why would you lock up the money?
money? He just locks himself in with the money. I'm the money troll now. I'm delving into the land of mystery and mystics. Anyway. A woman named Miss Blassingame walks in with her 6-year-old daughter, hoping to talk with Santa because they saw him down the street and they're like, oh, good, he went into the First National Bank. Let's go follow him. And she immediately realizes a robbery is taking place. She makes a beeline to the door. All the robbers are like, we're going to shoot you. We're going to shoot you. And she pushes her daughter out the door into the alleyway and thankfully escapes. Her and her daughter escape. They both made it safely into the alley, and Miss Blassingame starts screaming for help, and that alerted the chief of police that something was wrong. So this police chief, G.E. Bedford, was, quote, a giant of a man and a veteran peace officer, according to an eyewitness. He grabs his riot gun and started for the scene with 2 other officers covering the back door of the bank and the alley. Back in the bank, Ratliff has filled his bags with money and emerged from the vault. Seeing some commotion going on outside of the bank, a crowd was kind of starting to emerge. He fires a single shot out the glass window to warn that they were armed. And, Texans are like, you don't mess with Texas. So they start shooting him back from the outside. Hill, one of his associates, fired several shots into the ceiling to let them know they were not fucking around, and neither was the crowd that had formed outside. A full-on shootout ensued amongst citizens and the robbers, and everyone had guns. They were ready to make their $5,000, and if they didn't have guns on them, they were rushing to the nearby hardware store to buy guns and ammunition.
That's exactly what anyone should do in that situation.
I mean, you'd be a fool to not, have a gun in Texas in 1927 when there are robberies happening multiple times every single day.
Also, the hardware store is just selling guns.
Right. It should just be called the gun store. I doubt they even had hardware.
I'm sure they did. You could probably buy a gun at the candy shop. There were guns everywhere.
That's true.
You can still buy fucking guns at Walmart in this country.
Jesus, that's scary.
I love it. Just kidding. No,
Dude,
I don't.
okay, I was like, wait.
That
But
was
I
a joke.
thought...
Haley, I haven't told you about my guns.
No.
I have so many of them.
Are they pink and bedazzled? Because that's the only thing that would make sense.
My dad is a gun guy, and he once handed me like a gun catalog, and he told me to like pick one out. And I was like, well, I don't want a gun, but if I wanted a gun, it would be this one. And it was the pink one.
I would pick the most expensive one, get it, sell it, and then get Botox.
Yeah, right?
That's what I would do.
I never ended up getting a gun, for the record. My mom would have murdered him.
Important clarification.
Yeah.
She would have used the gun that he got you to... No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, maybe.
Okay, so back to the learning journey. The robbers forced all of the customers to go outside into the shootout that was happening. Several of them obviously got wounded along the way. And before all of the customers escaped, they took 2 young girls hostage, Laverne Comer, who was 12, and Emma Mae Robertson, who was 10. So the robbers moved to escape to the alley, but the crowd around the bank was so big. They were in the alley too, and they're just shooting at each other, and it's crazy, and the car is just riddled with bullet holes. The chief of police and a deputy were mortally wounded, as well as Ratliff, aka Santa, and Davis. So 2 of the robbers are hit pretty bad. Somehow, though, they made it into the car and were able to drive away with the hostages. But they didn't get very far before realizing they were almost out of gas because they forgot to fill up before they robbed the bank. And one of their tires had been shot out.
Of course it was.
Like, you have to have a checklist for these things. Okay.
Yeah.
To-do robbery list. Fill up the car. Well, steal the car first in their case. Make sure it has gas.
That should be number 1. Like, I feel like if you're going to rob a bank, you need to be a planner. They needed a type A girl in the group.
Definitely.
They needed someone to manage the group project, and they didn't have that.
It would have gone off without a hitch if there was a female involved, besides the woman who lent Ratliff the Santa suit.
Yeah, they should have gotten her involved a little bit more. Also, like, what was the grand plan there? Because if as soon as she hears that someone robbed the bank in a Santa costume, wouldn't you call the police and be like, guess who I loaned a Santa costume to? This seasoned criminal?
Definitely. I think it'd be really easy. And I don't know how long he wore the Santa suit for. There's one website that says it was, I'll list it off, but Alec, you can go to the next slide. This is apparently the Santa suit he wore. It's in some like archives now.
Ew, why is it dirty?
You'll see.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, he's still in the Santa suit. They're getting away in this car that has almost no gas, is riddled with bullets, and a mob is still chasing their car. The men pull over to commandeer an Oldsmobile, which was driven by a 14-year-old named Woody Harris. Woody Harris.
I love the 1920s.
Me too. Everything's just so
terrible.
No rules.
I love it.
Woody easily gave up the car, but he ended up taking the keys with him as he exited the vehicle. So as the robbers are getting into the car, they realize that they can't start it, all the while they're being shot at. And at this point, one of the robbers, Davis, has completely passed out. He's unconscious. There's no waking him. And they had already moved his body into the Oldsmobile along with all of the money. So they realize that they're just going to have to make their original car work for now. They move back into the other car with the 2 hostages, and they just leave Davis in the Oldsmobile, not realizing they also left the money.
Oh my God.
So stupid, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that just one of those I'm in too deep, I'm going to keep going and just see what happens mentalities?
I feel like it's just pure panic.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't make good decisions under panic. At least I do not.
No, me either. And you don't remember to grab your purse when you're panicked, and the purse being the money in this case.
Yeah. The whole point, though, like, I understand leaving Davis in the Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
He's just dead weight.
Were they framing him, like leaving him with the money?
He ended up getting framed. The mob found him passed out in the car with the money, and they temporarily gave up the pursuit because they're like, okay, we have the money. We have one of the guys. It's fine. The money was returned to the bank. They had stolen $12,400 in cash and $150,000 in non-negotiable securities.
Jeez, what does that mean?
Non-negotiable securities means that they're securities that cannot be negotiated or converted to cash by unauthorized persons without resort to forgery. So things like my car deeds. Like, I own my car. I can't just give you my car and it's legally yours. It would have to be written over, notarized, all of that. It has to be transferred to your name.
So is this like documents or goods?
Yes, it's documents.
Okay.
And it's pretty stupid of them because they couldn't even do anything anyway.
They were probably just grabbing shit.
Grabbing
they don't
anything.
Know what they do.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, we have a bunch of papers. We have some money. It's good to go. It's estimated that the bank was riddled with 200 bullet holes, but many townspeople thought that number was way too low. Davis died later that night in a Fort Worth hospital, and 6 citizens were treated for wounds resulting from the shootout. And this was the guy who was the family man. This was his first and only crime.
That's sad.
Yeah, but this is not the end. The robbers continued on for a few miles outside of the town, with a few stragglers still pursuing them and firing at their car. The two men started throwing out roofing nails, and they pulled down a dirt road that eventually turned into a pasture in which they had to dodge cacti, mesquite. Is that
mesquite?
Mesquite. What is that?
I don't know. I just think of the barbecue sauce.
Yeah, I think it's spelled that way. And scrub oak. And the growth became so thick, the car was giving up on them. It had no gas. It was too tough to get through. So the men continued on foot, taking their hostages with them still. Can you imagine being those little girls?
No. And why are they still taking the hostages with them? Like,
yeah,
what's the point at this point?
They're just something extra for you to look after anyway.
Yeah, just makes no sense.
Yeah. Officers from the surrounding counties were alerted and set out on horseback to the spot where the men had abandoned the car. But the trio was able to evade all the search parties, and they stole another car the next morning. By now, this chase was big news, and it was Christmas Eve. So at a church in Eastland, a different Santa Claus showed up, and a little boy called out, "Santa Claus, why'd you have to rob that bank?"
Oh my God. And then everyone shoots Santa Claus.
Yeah, they're all like, "F you, Santa Claus." Yes, Fox News, turns out Christmas is canceled. So somehow these guys, they steal the new car, they total the car. I don't know how. They're probably exhausted. And it was no issue for them to steal this next car that they stole. They commandeered a vehicle driven by a man named Carl Wiley. They had Carl drive them around and kept him hostage as well for 24 hours before letting him go and stealing another car.
They're like, we don't know how to drive.
They don't know how to do so many things.
We used to take a hostage. He was probably 14 too.
Yeah, they're like, "I need a nap so bad right now. You don't even understand the day I've had."
I can't sleep unless someone's driving me around in the car. So can you just go ahead and do that for me, please? Or I'll shoot you.
I'm really stressed out right now. And I'm so hungry. Things are really bleak at this point. The robbers are wounded. They haven't eaten anything but a few oranges they had packed with them.
No. And they forgot the money. They can't buy anything.
They forgot the freaking money. The weather is icy. It had started sleeting. It's just all around not a fun time. On top of all of this, the robbers and their hostages get ambushed in Young County by the sheriff while they're trying to cross the Brazos River. Another chase ensues, which leads to another shootout in a field where finally all three men are wounded all over again. And despite all this, they still get away. They're like in the brush of Texas and they get away. The manhunt goes on for several days after this. An airplane even assists in the search, which was pretty rare for the 1920s. And they're finally, days later, able to narrow in on their trail. They can see the men's footprints in the snow and in the mud, and they notice that they start to get more and more close together, indicating that they're exhausted from the chase. They're weak from the loss of blood. They see blood, dripping in their marks. And it showed with small inclines, the men started to crawl up small hills.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Jail would be better than crawling through the mud, exhausted and bleeding.
Honey, get yourself some food.
Yeah.
If you couldn't see that it wasn't worth it before you decided to do all this, I would surely hope that you see it's not worth it at this point.
Not even a little bit.
They go into custody without a fight when they finally find them in Graham, Texas, after a man reported seeing them after they asked him for directions. He's like, "Aren't you that guy? Oh, you are wearing the Santa suit."
They're like in a dirty Santa suit covered in blood.
Yeah,
It's
very.
oh, you're that guy. No, I'm a different guy.
I feel like I heard something about this. So they're taken into custody, they're fed, they're treated for their wounds, and quickly put on trial. Hill pleaded guilty to the armed robbery. He took the stand on his own behalf, always a bad idea, and he was sentenced to 99 years in prison. He escaped jail 3 times.
I mean, you just had to walk out back then, basically.
Yeah. He walked out of prison 3 times. He was recaptured each time. And eventually he just kind of calmed down. He was released on parole in the mid-1940s, changed his name, and actually became a productive citizen.
Wow.
Yeah. He died in 1996.
Are you serious?
Yes. Isn't that crazy to think that this guy played a huge part in this 1927 robbery, and he died the year before we were born?
He would have had to be like 100, right?
So old. I think he was probably almost 100.
That's crazy.
I know.
I guess all of these choices make you live a long time. We should all do it.
Stress is good for you. Helms was identified as the one who gunned down both the lawmen outside the bank and was sentenced to death. He debuted.
Debuted.
He did not debut. Basically, he went with an insanity plea. I don't know what I tried to write.
What are you trying to say?
When he was sentenced to death, he rebutted. It says debuted in my notes. I guess it could be debuted. Anyway, he rebutted with an insanity plea, which he was unsuccessful with and sentenced to death by electric chair in September.
Why did he get the electric chair and the other guy got parole?
I think because he rebutted the trial decision, and they're like, okay, you want to go again? You want to go again?
Fucking try
little boy?
me, bitch. Yeah.
So that's terrifying. And lastly, we have Ratliff. Santa. He was convicted of armed robbery and sentenced to 99 years in prison. And then in March, he was sentenced to execution for his role in the deaths of the lawmen outside the bank as well, even though no witnesses could come forward and say 100% he was the one who fired the gun in and outside of the bank. So Ratliff appeared his case, failed, and went for the classic insanity plea, but he really committed to this role. He actually started acting quote unquote insane. I don't really love using that word, but he basically put on this act. And he ended up convincing his jailers that were assigned to him that he was mentally unwell, which he probably was a little bit, but he really leaned into it. He stopped doing literally anything, meaning that they had to feed him, they had to drag him to the bath, they had to physically take him to the toilet.
He's just on a power trip.
Acted like he was paralyzed. And the people of Eastland County are pissed off that Ratliff hadn't been executed yet and that he was going for the insanity plea. So that November, Ratliff tried to escape and actually killed one of his jailers in the process. That was the final straw for the townspeople. A mass of people gathered outside the prison, and by sunset, there were somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 people demanding the jailers give them Ratliff. The jailers are like, no, that is not how it works. And they ended up just overpowering the prison security. About 15 men rush in and grab Ratliff out of his cell. They drag him out of prison, tie him by his hands and feet, and drag him to a nearby vacant lot where the play, The Noose, was being presented. They find a nearby power pole and attempt to hang him, but fail when the knot comes undone and he falls to the ground.
And just starts running.
Thankfully, he stayed tied up. They tried again, and reportedly, as they were raising him up the second time, Ratliff's last words were, "Forgive me, boys," as they hoisted him up 15 feet and succeeded lynching him on the second try.
Things are fucking crazy. Can you believe this was 100 years ago? Not even
100 years ago. I feel like I'm telling a fictional story.
Yeah. The world is so fucked up.
I know. There are people I hate who I think should be in jail for the crimes against humanity and people they've done.
A mob just busts into the jail where he's already in jail. He's not going anywhere. Well, maybe he does escape, but
a couple times.
Like, that's crazy. And
y'all
just
really
want to kill someone.
Yeah, they want to kill someone.
People love killing people.
They do. They don't
love
have anything better to do.
They really love it.
That feminine urge to kill. Ratliff was pronounced dead at 9:55 p.m. on November 19th, 1927. No one was ever tried in association with his lynching. Several thousand people came to view Ratliff's body, which was on display at a furniture store the next day.
What?
Yeah.
Humans are so weird.
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall.
I always I would love to go back in time and just see it. I don't want to be involved. Don't rope me into that shit, but I would like to observe.
Yeah, and like you said before, it's not really that far off.
Not at all.
Our
great grandparents were alive.
Yes. Yeah. Woo! Yikes! His body was on display at this furniture store for a day before Judge Garrett ordered the corpse be returned to the family. The total number dead in this Santa heist was 6, including the robbers, and the First National Bank of Cisco still stands, but it is a new building, so I don't know if I would count that as still standing, but it's in the same spot. And in it features a painting of the robbery and a collection of newspaper clippings and pictures of those involved. This picture here is a bunch of guys wearing hats and 3-piece suits. Those were some of the men who gathered outside the bank when the robbery was taking place.
Look at the guy hugging that pillar.
He just wanted to be involved.
He loves it.
He can barely hang on.
He's like making out with the wall.
Much like you and your yoga ball. These next few clippings are just from the newspapers. You can check them out. I'm sure we'll post them to Instagram, but this was big, big news at the time. So that was my lesson on Bad Santa. My sources are Wikipedia, the Texas State Historical Association, an article by Walter F. Pilcher, The Texan, an article by Daniel Friend, Hometown by Handlebar Blog, the article named Voice House Part 1, Santa, why did you rob that bank? And Warehouse 13 Artifact Database Wiki, Marshall Ratliff, Santa Claus suit.
Wow. Thank you, Hayley.
You're welcome.
That was great. Let's hear from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. I cannot emphasize enough how much seeing a therapist and getting to talk to someone who's completely unbiased about whatever issues, whatever it is I'm struggling with, has helped me. I'm privileged to have gone at a young age, but I'm so lucky that I'm able to continue this experience. And I just know that anyone and everyone can really benefit from getting to talk to someone. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And special offer tonight, classy listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/classy. That's betterhelp.com/classy. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode.
Are you ready?
I don't know. I think I am.
I think you're ready. Today, I'm going to talk about a subculture that's really interested me for a long time.
Horse girl culture.
Sort of, in a way. There is probably some overlap. Today, we're talking about furries.
Yes! I was hoping that would be the second. Yes. Okay. I'm listening.
This is it. So before I even start, I want to make it abundantly clear that this episode is not to make fun, bully, or yuck anyone's yum. That is not what we're about. This is a safe space. I also don't want to ruffle anyone's fur. But I think it's really cool to learn about subcultures and communities that you normally probably a lot of us wouldn't have much exposure to. And in doing this research, I found that furries are really misunderstood. So I hope we can all learn something today.
Oh, I'm ready to learn.
According to WebMD, furries are, quote, people who have an interest in anthropomorphic animals or animals with human qualities.
WebMD needs to stay in its own lane.
The WebMD article was called something like, "Is furry sex for me?" So
WebMD, You know what?
And it had
Here's your
nothing
job.
to do with MD.
WebMD is supposed to make people think they have cancer when they don't. That is
Yeah.
their sole purpose. All they need is the symptom checker on their website. They don't need to be getting into these subcultures talking about all this and that.
Yeah, I was also confused why this was on WebMD. I don't know. Going on, many furries create their own animal character known as a fursona, which functions as their avatar within furry communities. Basically, at their core, furries are fans of media, especially artwork, cartoons, and anime that features anthropomorphized animals. So I was a furry when I was a kid, not like by regular standards, but like I was obsessed with any cartoon featuring an animal. I pretended to be an animal.
Yes.
So like I hear you. I see you. I get it. There's a very wide spectrum of involvement of furries. On one side, there's furries who are simply big fans of media like Pokemon, Sonic the Hedgehog, Zootopia, the Warrior Cat series, love that, and an anime called Beastars. So like on the low end, you have people who are just like fans of these kind of things. And then there's those who have developed a detailed fursona or animal alter ego. They might role play as their fursona online. They might go to furry meetups. Those are kind of the people in the middle.
Like in the middle.
Mhm.
Never mind. I was thinking of a more extreme. Like that woman on My Strange Addiction.
The pony
was
play?
The pony play. Is that, would that be considered furry?
I think that might. There's definitely some overlap, and there's like it's a big community, so there's like a really wide range of, the way that people practice their interests. I would say on the far end, and I don't know if she would qualify, but I think on the far end is the otherkin who identify as an animal. So there's really like this spectrum, and otherkin do not view themselves as spiritually or mentally fully human. They like kind of their furry identity is more like, something they can't control. It's not a hobby for some people.
Okay.
There's a common misconception that the furry community is all about sex, which is what I thought before I started this research. I thought it was just a sexual kink. I didn't realize that there was more to it.
Yeah, I did too.
And sexual roleplay and pornographic fan art is definitely part of the fandom, like as is with literally any other fandom under the sun.
Because sex is a part of life. And
right.
We should normalize sex.
Totally. And like there are furries that have sex in their fursuits, which is called yiffing. Yiffing is the sound foxes make when they have sex. It's kind of fun.
What does the fox say?
But this is... I don't know if I've said this on this podcast before, but I worked at like a media center for children, like when What the Fox Say came out. And so there were like all these TVs in the room, and they would go on YouTube and play that song my entire shift. It would be what does the fox say?
I don't know how you're a teacher after experiencing that.
Yeah, and they were probably about the same age as my students now. I just can't escape middle school children. They'll forever be with me. So this is a practice with furries, but it's estimated that only a small minority of the fandom engages in yiffing, probably only around 15%. This is compounded by the fact that most furries don't even own a fursuit. The fursuit is like a costume of your fursona, probably what you think about when you think of a furry. But furries do engage with the sexual side of the fandom in different ways. There was a survey done at Furry Fiesta, which is a furry convention, in 2013 that found that 96.3% of male respondents and 78.3% of female respondents reported viewing furry pornography. Furry pornography is sometimes just drawn cartoons, or it can be as simple as, quote unquote, regular porn, but they're wearing tails, something like that. Furry sex is not bestiality. They do not engage sexually with real animals. Want to make that very clear.
Yeah, that could be a misconception if you don't know anything.
Yes.
About it.
And furry animals, like it's typically like cartoon characters. They're very like, they don't try to look like real animals. They're very stylized. It's kind of like how everyone was into like Jessica Rabbit, like that kind of a thing.
Jessica Rabbit
like sexy
is hot.
animals. She is. And like Simba from The Lion King, I had a huge crush on Simba. Like,
I love that.
I get it.
I love that part of you. That's great.
Men reported looking at furry porn 41.5 times per month on average, while women reported looking at it 10.5 times per month.
Wait, just like the average population or people who identify as furries?
People who look at furry porn.
Oh,
so
okay,
furries.
okay.
And at first I was like 41.5 times is a lot of porn.
Well, how often do men look at porn?
Like per month? I feel like not
Yeah,
41.5 times
guy.
per month. But I guess if you're following like Insta baddies, like that could count as porn. Just like when I was thinking about this, it's like, okay, like if you're watching like 41.5 porn videos, that's a lot. But then like also like if you follow like the DeviantArt subreddit, like you're gonna see furry porn like just on your feed. So like you see that a couple times a day. There you go. That's 41.5. So I don't know exactly what they're counting here. But it sounds like kind of a lot, especially because women's is like a fourth of that. Most of them also reported their involvement in the fandom was not primarily sexual. So there's definitely that element, but there's other ways to be part of the fandom. Men report spending 34% of their time online role-playing in a sexual context, while women report spending only about 21.4% of their time role-playing, doing it sexually, you know?
Yeah.
Half of men and the vast majority of women report that the sexual content played little or no role in their introduction to the fandom. So that's not why most people are joining. It kind of happens later on.
Yeah, you ease into it.
Yeah, you gotta dip your toe in the water. I feel like most people probably like get started like because they like the media, like the cartoons and the anime and stuff. I think that would make the most sense. And like I teach middle schoolers, they love to draw like furry shit. Like they all draw anime, and a lot of times like there's furry characters. It's fun to draw those kind of things.
I wonder how it got started that, and I don't think we're the only ones that thought that furries were just a sexual kink.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it a little bit. The media is definitely to blame. That's kind of like what people focus on because it's salacious. But that's not really what it is, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you say sex and everyone's going to start looking and listening to what
Once
you're
you
saying.
hear that people are wearing animal costumes having sex, that becomes all that it is, which makes sense. That is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Doesn't tell the full story, though.
Right. So who are the furries? Furries are about 84% male. There's like a big problem that not enough females are part of the fandom. They're mostly white. They're typically in their 20s, with 75% being under the age of 25.
Oh, wow.
So they're very young.
There should be a song. Someone needs to write the song that's called Who Are the Furries?
Just put my lesson to music and you
yes, auto-tune. Auto-fur.
Auto-fur. 60% of furries are part-time or full-time post-secondary students. So a lot of them are college students. The majority are atheist or agnostic. 44.36% are atheist. 9.47% are agnostic. 23.19% are Christian. 3.94% are pagan. 1.91% are Wiccan. And 13.72% are other. Only 3.8% of furries have children. And so I was wondering, like, it makes sense with like the age group and that a lot of them are college students. But then it's like, when you have kids, do you stop being a furry or
do you do more furry?
What?
You know, you're playing with your kid, put on your little furry costume.
I mean, kids do like that.
Yeah.
And then you
It's like
like
having a
have an
mascot.
excuse to watch The Lion King over and over again.
I think that's the way. They say that there's an issue with too many men and not enough women, but I think that you know, be really embracing being a furry in every aspect of your life, including getting your kids started and interested at a young age, could really help their population grow.
Or get the mom groups involved. We need more mom furries.
Yeah.
That's probably the like most underrepresented demographic is like moms of color. We need to target that demographic, broaden the horizons. Anyway, Furries don't make any more or less money than the rest of the population on average, but they are significantly more left-leaning politically than the average population, and they're also much more likely to be LGBTQ+. Less than 30% of furries reported being heterosexual, which is about like the reverse of the rest of the population.
Cool.
In general, they're typically what we would describe as nerds. A lot of them have interest in things like video games, computer games, board games, anime, science fiction, and fantasy. And this kind of ties into their interest as furries because a lot of those things have like anthropomorphized animals in the artwork. Another interesting statistic is that about 1 in 3 furries report feeling not 100% human. But only a very small percentage of these people, so around 8 to 14% of that 1/3, mean this in a physical sense. Most people mean they're not like mentally or spiritually fully human, but there are those that think they're physically not. Yeah.
Maybe I'm a furry.
Maybe you are. I mean, maybe this is our awakening. 38 to 53% of these people report a desire to be 0% human if they could, which honestly, I understand. I was watching my pets today do nothing. They just laid in bed all day.
So much better.
So much better.
Than doing anything.
I would 100% do that.
I would love to be a cat or a dolphin, but especially a cat.
I would not want to be a dolphin. You'd have to live in the ocean. The ocean's scary.
I feel like it would be less scary if you're a dolphin. How many dolphins do you see and you're like, oh my God, they're so scared. We have to save them.
I mean, they get eaten by sharks and hit by boats and
How
stuff.
often, though,
I
with
don't
the sharks?
know.
I know boats are a real issue.
I don't know. I would not want to be a dolphin, but I would want to be a cat.
Yes, I would prefer to be a cat for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But I'd want my human to train me to go in the toilet still, I think. I don't want to.
You don't want to use a litter box?
No, I don't want to step in whatever's in there.
That's true. They don't seem to mind.
I would mind. I would know. I'd be like, I may not be 0% human after all. So my consciousness is there. I don't want to step in my poop that's smeared in rocks.
So like as a cat, Hayley would be an otherkin, but she'd like feel like she was part human.
Yes.
We're playing Uno reverse right now.
I just don't want to choose here or there. I just want the best of everything. And I don't think I'm asking too much.
I think I want to be a human that doesn't have to work or worry about money.
That sounds even better.
That sounds like the ideal situation.
Second best is being a cat. Isn't that
yeah, that's second. Number 1 is just being a human without any problems or responsibilities.
That'd be great. But then are you really human?
Yeah, there's definitely humans that live that way.
Everyone has issues.
No.
And that's why you should start using BetterHelp.
Let's see. So back to the otherkin. Those who identify as partially non-human or fully non-human are otherkin. There's also Therians who are otherkin who identify as real animals. So wolves are the most common thing that people identify as, but some view the term otherkin as more in reference to people who think or identify with fantasy creatures like dragons, vampires, angels, and unicorns. A lot of otherkin attribute these feelings to reincarnation. Like maybe they were a wolf in their past life and they still like have some of those tendencies. Others may believe in parallel universes or supernatural planes, which might contribute to their identity. There are those who don't hold any spiritual beliefs and think maybe this is just a different psychology that they have. Everyone has their own reasons for being otherkin. For some, it's escapism, and it just feels good to get lost in the fantasy. They might know it's not real, but it's fun to role play.
Yeah.
Some identify with the traits of certain animals, and it's just like a new extreme of it being their favorite animal, while others literally believe they are an animal. There's also some more types of otherkin. There's fiction-kin who identify as fictional characters, weather-kin who identify as weather systems. That's my favorite one.
Okay. I didn't know that would be even categorized under furries.
I don't think it really is.
Oh, okay.
Like otherkin is like there's overlap with furries, but they're not necessarily the same thing.
Oh, okay.
I just thought they were fun.
Yeah, love that. What would your weather system be?
I don't know. A monsoon?
Oh my God. I was going to say like maybe thunderstorm.
Thunderstorm would be a good one.
Monsoon is intense.
Can there be a snowy thunderstorm? Can there be thunder and lightning during a snowstorm? Because I want to be that.
I'm sure it's happened before, but I don't know. Maybe it's literally impossible.
I don't know. What do you think, Alec?
Tornado.
You want to be a tornado?
Wow.
We just had a crazy tornado.
Tornadoes happen when hot and cold air mix, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably be a tornado too, because I'm so like fickle and can't make up my mind. I'm hot and cold.
And speaking of tornadoes, we had a day the other day where the low was 31 and the high was 75, and it caused a huge tornado. Luckily, we missed the worst of it, and Kentucky unfortunately got it. It was very destructive, but did you hear the sirens in the middle of the night?
Yes, I did. And I got that alert on my phone.
The alert on our phones just start blaring and the sirens are going off all at once. And Alec and I had all the windows open. So we were just like hearing the thunder and the pouring rain. And we thought the world was ending. And we had a panic attack at 1 a.m.
Yeah, I wish that we were at our house where we have a basement, because we do not have that at Tommy's house. And have you ever experienced a tornado?
No.
Or been near one?
No.
Okay, if you hear anything that sounds like a train, go to the basement.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
You probably should have gone just for the warning, but it ended up being fine.
Yeah, we thought about going into the basement, but then we opened the basement door and then it was like a waterfall down there. There was water just pouring down the walls.
It was crazy.
I'd rather die in a tornado than go down in that basement.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I heard lots about tornadoes. My grandma grew up in Oklahoma. She'd be like, oh my gosh, we watched tornadoes just go down the street and pick houses and destroyed them like right in front of our eyes.
That's so traumatizing. Yeah. Why?
I know.
I understand that people like have to live in Oklahoma because of circumstance, but like, why would you choose? Like, tornadoes look so scary.
I know. I hope to never see one. I've never seen one. I don't think. I think we saw a start of one time when I lived in Cincinnati, but it was never touched down, so that's good.
So terrifying. Yeah, that was a crazy night. Back to this. Let's see. Machine can have the soul of a machine, like a computer, robot, or calculator.
I would be an espresso maker.
Oh, that's a good one. What would I be?
Turns out I would actually probably be like a bidet. But I had hoped to be an espresso maker. What would you be?
I don't know, a TV remote.
Yeah, I could see that. What about you, Alec?
I'll be the podcast mix board.
Oh, that's a good
fitting.
one.
Obviously.
Godkin are reincarnated gods. That's what I identify as. Aquakin have the soul of aquatic creatures. Alienkin or star seeds have extraterrestrial souls.
Star seeds. I like that.
That is cute, isn't it? The list really goes on. Like I said, not all furries are otherkin and not all otherkin are furries, but there's definitely overlap. And while we're listing words, let's go into a little furry lingo.
Oh, yes, please. So that we can get some freaking furries yelling at us on YouTube.
Right. Bronies are a subset of furries who are fans of My Little Pony.
Are they all men? Bro?
They used to be, but now it's like becoming like there's more and more women entering the fandom. Planties are a subset of furries who are into anthropomorphized plants.
Nice.
I like that.
Is that why you're saying anthropomorphized?
I said it weird, didn't I? Anthropomorphized.
No, I was just thinking earlier before either of us started our lessons, you said that about the breathalyzer.
Oh, you're right.
Oh my God, that is a big word.
I had anthropomorphized on the brain.
It was clearly. I'm like, okay, so she's not just smart.
No. Do not get it twisted.
You are
that's
smart.
That's not part of my lexicon.
Not just your average daily word use.
No.
I was impressed.
Oh, thank you.
A little bit intimidated too.
You should be. I'm a godkin after all.
After what god?
All of them.
Okay.
con crud is an itchy fungus that sometimes lives in fursuits.
Oh no, I thought you were gonna say it was like a made up furry thing.
No, it's a
very
fungus.
real.
I mean, we know all about fungus in this house.
It's called con crud.
Yeah.
Like you get it at conventions.
Yeah, because you wear your fursuit and you're sweating in it all day.
Oh no, that's what must be in my shoes from that music festival, my birthday.
You told us you went to a music festival. I'm not so sure.
I went to Music Con. Got that con crud. My antifungal spray should be here tonight. So
That's exciting.
I'm very excited. It's the small things.
Scritching is affectionately scratching or grooming when you're wearing your fursuit, like doing that to each other. Like we said earlier, yiffing is sex. Marf is the response if you don't want to have sex. Like someone might go up to you and go, yiff, like want to have sex? And then if you don't want to, you'd say marf.
Wow. I'm going to start using that in my life.
Tommy's going to love it. Myrrh.
And I'm going to use scritching too. I really like that. I'm going to go up to Safety and be like, you want a scritch?
Ew, don't.
What? That's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
It feels wrong.
Scritching is such a cute little word.
Okay. Myrrh is a sexy murmur, like myrrh. And
that was not sexy.
To you. Maybe it's sexy to someone.
Alec, sexy or no?
Myrrh.
I'm gonna say no. I saw a funny cartoon this cartoonist I follow made, and it was the three wise men, and it was like gold and like this beautiful king, and then like frankincense, this like wise man, and then it was like myrrh, and it was like this like fleshy alien thing holding a fleshy alien baby, and the baby's like myrrh. They're like all melted faces and stuff.
Yeah, that's more accurate. I don't understand how that could be sexy.
Myrrh.
Yeah. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Maybe if you rolled your R's. Can you roll your R's?
Myrrh. Yeah, maybe that's how they say it.
Yeah.
And a mersuit. Want to guess what that is?
A mermaid?
No,
Furry?
no. A mersuit is a fursuit equipped with strategically placed holes for yiffing.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, nice.
Steves and Larrys are regular people who are not involved in the fandom.
I like that it's Steve and Larry. Like,
Yeah.
Larry is a normal run-of-the-mill name, but
Right.
Steve is just so common. I would say like Steve's and John's. I
Yeah.
wonder where it originated.
And I like that they're leaving women out of it. Like,
Yeah.
don't even bring us into this. Fursecution is prejudiced by Steves.
Oh, that makes sense.
And fur-fu is a martial art developed for furries to combat fursecution.
is it different than like what is it called? Like
Fur-fu.
Fur fu? Is it different than kung fu, or just
Probably.
like it becomes fur fu?
It's
when
probably
you
just kung fu,
do
but
it
wearing a
in your-
fursuit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Suit envy or the suitor gap is this thing, like, because a lot of furries want fursuits but can't afford them. So this describes like the jealousy they feel toward those who can, because fursuits are really expensive. The average fursuit costs between $1,700 and $2,200, but they can be well over $3,000 if you want like a nice custom one.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. My brother wanted to be a mascot when he was a younger child, and he was like, at 10 years old, he's like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, look at
He
how
couldn't
much
afford the mascot suit. Does he know that you don't have to buy your own mascot suit when you're a mascot?
Turns out he just ended up, he didn't go the mascot route. I don't know.
That's
I'll
a
have to let him
shame.
know.
I wish he would revisit that dream.
Maybe he will.
Someday.
Well, gosh, I wore a mascot suit one night, my first year teaching for literacy night. I dressed up as
you were
Clifford. and
Clifford.
It was awful. So, I
Yeah.
mean, shout out to all you furries, because I was way too hot.
Yeah,
I would
they're
have to
not
have
well
an
ventilated.
internal fan. I would have to wear a MERS suit because just to have the ventilation.
And like I found this interesting. Like when you go to fur cons, there's obviously like lecturers and like I don't know what you call it, like
Speakers, talks.
yeah, talks that you can attend. And like a really common topic is about making fursuits more accessible. And there's also furry YouTubers who will a lot of times discuss ways to like make or purchase affordable fursuits.
That's
It's like a
good.
really big topic of conversation. Toony and feral refer to how either cartoony or how realistic someone's fursona looks.
Feral.
Feral. So like if you're feral, a lot of people who have feral fursuits, like they walk on all fours. Like their goal is to look like the actual animal, which is more rare. Most people, I think, do the toony ones.
Yeah.
Muscle furs are, have you seen like the furry art that where they're like really like jacked and sexy? That's what those are. Or like some people will have like abs on their fursuits. And then fluffers are the fursonas that are like chubbier and lack muscle tone, like have more like cartoony animal bodies.
Yeah.
And apparently around the year 2000, there was a lot of infighting over what quote unquote real furries looked like, whether they were muscle furs or fluffers.
Oh my goodness. Just let people live.
Right, just come together. Power in numbers. A gray muzzle is an older member of the furry fandom.
Oh.
Baby furs are into age play or childlike characters, which is the only time in this lesson where I was like, yikes. Milfers are ex or current military furries.
Oh, not what I was expecting. Milfers.
Milfers. I know. I thought it was going to be like a MILF furry, but
Me too.
no. And the fursona is your furry character or personality. And let's talk a little bit more about fursonas. A fursona is like your avatar. It's how you represent yourself to the community. Not every furry has a fursona, but most do, as many as 97 or 98%. So
Yeah,
quite a
I feel
few.
like if you're going to go into being a furry, you might as well like make a persona where everything, you can make it whoever you want to be.
Yeah, it's really fun, and I can attest because I made one. Ooh.
Sorry, just
You're good.
spilled some White Claw.
You guys keep going. I'll grab a napkin.
Like everything else, there's a big spectrum of fursonas. For a lot of people, it's just a cute avatar that they use online. And for others, it's a highly meaningful piece of their identity. Alec and I made fursonas today. And my character is heavily inspired by one of my favorite Disney movies, The Aristocats.
Yes, I loved Aristocats.
Me too. Her name is Malori Sparkles. She's a fluffy white Persian cat with glitter in her fur, and she wears like a big white fur coat on top of her
It's like
own fur.
what you have on today.
Exactly. And she has a diamond collar. She's like kind of a diva, like think Moira Rose as a cat.
Yes.
And she's rich and cool as fuck. And Alec, do you want to tell us about your fursona?
Can you remind me what mine was?
Yeah, yours was Ace, and he was a squirrel.
Oh, yeah. Mine's a toony squirrel, right?
Yeah.
What does Toonie mean again?
Like more cartoony looking.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. But then I took an online quiz about furries, and it said I was a hybrid. And we looked up like what you can be a hybrid of, and it said it's often like a fox and a dragon.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was thinking about being like a squirrel dragon.
Oh, that would be
Oh,
cool.
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Is your name still Ace?
It might have to be something like Squawkor or something.
Squawkor. I like that.
Cool.
Do you wear any clothes or have like a personality?
We said my personality was a very cool life of the party guy.
Yeah, so basically just you. But
I didn't want to say it.
And if you're a squirrel dragon hybrid, what color are you?
What color do you think that character would be?
I don't know, Alec. It's your fursona.
I think you would be light, like creamy orange.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's cute.
I'll take that.
I like that. Maybe some teal scales thrown in there, like some
Yeah,
shiny.
like the Parasaur, like the classic
There we
Parasaur
go.
colors, I think.
Yeah,
like
like
the
on
hat.
the hat.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe your fur is that orangey peach color and then your scales are aqua.
Yep. Very
I'll take it.
Figured it out.
So, Hayley, now it's your turn. I have the steps for making a fursona from
Okay.
WikiHow, and we'll do this step by step together. So, number one, you're going to choose your species, and this can be like an animal you identify with or a mythical creature that you like. You can even, like Alex said, mix like animals together and make a hybrid creature. The most popular hybrids are lions and tigers, which are called lingers, fox and huskies, which are called foxkies, and dragons and foxes, which are called droxes.
I don't know. What do you see me as? Do you have any ideas?
Your hair is giving me giraffe right now because it's like the color of a giraffe.
Okay.
But giraffe isn't a common one.
No, but maybe she wants to be unique.
Okay. We just looked up the common ones, which were wolf, rabbit, dog, beaver, skunk, chipmunk, squirrel.
Alex trying to put you in a box right now, and I don't approve.
No, I'm just trying to play into the actual subculture.
Okay.
Whereas you're saying giraffe, it's like, I doubt there's anyone with like a huge fake neck.
But you can still be a giraffe. Like, think about the Toys R Us giraffe. That
I
had a
could see
fursuit.
rabbit. I've heard I look similar to a rabbit.
Yeah, I could see a
In my
rabbit.
past life, I could see a rabbit. For
I could
myself.
also, like, you have like antlers on your shirt right now. I could see like a deer. It'd be kind of cute.
Ooh, yeah, I could see a deer too.
Ooh, what if you were a jackalope, a deer, rabbit?
That's a good one.
Yes, I'll be a jackalope.
Okay.
Because you can be a mythical creature.
All right, jackalope, perfect. And then you got to think of your design. So like coat color, markings, fur type, ears, tail. You can have piercings, tattoos. What do you want to look like?
I'll be all black with a tuft of white around my neck, and my hands/feet will be white as well, and my antlers will be white.
Cool.
My eyes will be red.
Ooh,
Like
you're a scary
Bunnicula.
one. Then you want to think of any other details. So like what kind of body type? Do you wear clothing? Do you stand on 2 legs or 4?
Going all 4 for sure.
Wow.
I'm committing.
You're going hard.
Yes, I am. In this hypothetical situation, I'm all in.
And then your personality. So, and it's really good to have like both positive and negative traits to make yourself a little more interesting.
Okay, so I'm probably. Oh, look, there's Alex.
I
has
was
pulled up
wrong. I was
a
wrong.
Sexy giraffe.
There's giraffe furries.
That character looks really good as a giraffe. Oh,
Oh, I like the pink hair.
you can't tell it's a giraffe though. It looks like a hyena.
Yeah, they all look
Yeah.
like, you're exactly right. It's like a hyena that they've put weird horns on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I distracted y'all.
Okay.
Let's see. So a positive and a negative. Probably sneaky. Definitely a little bit sneaky, but loyal as fuck.
Okay. Nice. And then finally, you need to come up with a name.
Didn't think you would ask me this.
Did I tell you my name? I think I did.
What? I don't remember.
Mallory Sparkles.
Mallory Sparkles.
And Alec is Ace.
Mallory Sparkles, Ace, and...
You want me to hit you with a fur generator?
Sure. Yes, please.
And by fur generator, I mean a name generator. Let's see.
Persona names.
Get a female name. Stopura?
No.
I can't
boo.
say any of those. I like Wild Dog Sick Howl. Ooh,
Not
Light
fitting.
Fang Bitter Eyes.
Light Fang's pretty badass. Prime Scream.
Ooh.
I like the Jameeks.
Jameeks. And Quago.
Rave Cat.
And
What makes these
Quago.
names feminine? That's what I want to know.
How you say them.
Ooh, I like Dratha.
Dratha Algora.
Ooh, there you go. Dratha Algora. That's perfect.
Nice.
Okay.
Kind of like Bunnicula, but different.
Can I
Yes.
ask listeners if there's any artists out there, take this information, draw it all together, we'll post it.
We're asking a lot of people, but if you want to, we would appreciate it. We will not
We
pay
would.
you, but we might send you merch.
I'm
Yeah.
confident there's someone out there that can
I'll
do
say we
this.
will send you merch.
We will send
Yeah.
you merch.
If you want to draw our personas, we will send you a merch package.
And this is not the first time we've asked anyone listening to do a little sketch up. So if you go back in the archives and find the Easter eggs where we also offer merch in
I
exchange
don't think
for...
we gave merch that time.
Well, we
so
are
don't
now.
make any promises.
We are now. I'm putting my foot down.
Okay.
I'm tired of this no merch bullshit.
Yeah, if you've made us fan art in the past, reach back out. I guess we'll send you something. All right, so how did the furry movement start?
I would like to know,
I
Kat.
bet you want to know.
This lesson is quite backwards, if you ask me.
You know what? I put my own spin on it. Sorry about it. There's not an exact origin, but the general agreement is that it started in the 1980s in the United States, though some historians argue that it has roots as far back as the 1910s or 1920s.
I would love love a 1910s furry.
I know. And I don't think that they mean furries. I think they mean like media of like cartoon animals, essentially, which influenced the movement.
It's just like some kids playing with their mom's Victorian hair art.
Yeah, they're like
look at me,
putting the hair on their back and crawling around the floor. My name's Murr. Some think the origin can be traced to Kimba the White Lion, which is a 1965 manga. Others cite the 1972 novel Watership Down, which is about anthropomorphized rabbits, or Disney's Robin Hood. In the 1970s, a genre of comic books emerged called underground comics, and that's comics with an X. These comic books featured adult content. And from there, the 1976 amateur press association called Voodie emerged. Voodie featured adult-themed, animal-centric art, such as one of their books called Omaha the Cat Dancer. And I unfortunately didn't put together a slideshow for this one, but if you look up Omaha the Cat Dancer, that art looks very much like modern furry art. The animals are very sexy, they have human bodies and cat faces. And Voodie gained a small following and started showing up at anime and sci-fi conventions. Alec, did you pull up a picture of it?
I think so.
There she is. Yeah, that's her. So she basically just looks like a sexy woman, but she has cat ears, and then the men have cat heads.
Oh, yeah. The guys are just full-on cats with a human body, but
Yeah.
she, like, vaguely resembles
And she
a
has, like,
person.
a flesh-colored tail, which I don't appreciate. But yeah,
Ooh, flesh tail.
this became a thing. This led up to a 1980 science fiction convention where a character drawing from the book Albedo Anthropomorphics sparked a discussion about anthropomorphic characters in science fiction novels. Basically, this was people kind of publicly recognizing a shared interest in these kind of cartoons. Many people see this as the official birth of the furry fandom. The term furry began being used as early as 1983, and that became like the standard name for the genre in the mid-1990s. In 1989, the first furry convention was held. It was called Conference Zero, and it was hosted at the Holiday Inn Bristol Plaza in Costa Mesa, California. In the 1990s, the furry community grew along with the internet. In 1995, a second furry convention called Furtasticon was launched, and the same year, a third called Eurofent started as well. So we're starting to see more and more of these annual conventions. According to a thesis by Mississippi State University, early furcons were not sexual in nature and did not have as many gay and bisexual men as they do now. But by the mid-90s, hentai was also starting to become really popular.
Okay.
And this influenced the furry fandom to develop this sexual subculture.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
That's right. And that
You
part
get
actually
versets.
kind of confused me because it was born partially from these like porn comics.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was probably already there, but maybe not quite as present openly.
A country song, Back to My Roots.
Right. The fandom experienced more rapid growth in the early 2000s and began being referenced in mainstream media. In 2003, CSI aired a furry-themed episode called Fur and Loathing. And talk shows like Dr. Phil and The Tyra Show also discussed furries. Though when we saw this on mainstream media, they tended to lean heavily into the sexual aspect of the subculture and criticize and make fun of it. Kind of, putting the tone on how furries are typically talked about today. Furry cons are now held all over the world, and scientific and sociological studies are being dedicated to furries. People are getting more interested. Furry art and conventions are more popular than ever, with the fandom estimated to be as many as 1 million people and growing, though that's from a 2018 article. So there's probably, I would venture to say, a lot more than that now.
Yeah, definitely. And especially spending so much time at home in 2020, has such a high... there's so many people on the internet, I feel like, where the community really thrives.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with the internet growing up, that the subculture grew up right along with it. They have a very what do you call that? Like symbiotic relationship. And yeah, because I feel like a lot of people don't want everyone to know they're a furry because there is that stigma. So it definitely thrives in anonymous online spaces. And before I wrap this up, I wanted to research something that like I had seen a little bit of, but not really like knew much about. And you may have seen some of this stuff too. And that's a small but visible subset of alt-right and Nazi furries that sometimes show up at, you know, alt-right rallies and fur cons. So have you ever seen like those pictures of like furries wearing Nazi armbands or Confederate flag fursuits?
No, that's really surprising to me, especially after... I think you just confirmed an assumption I had of the furry community when you talked about the demographics.
Yeah.
No, I have not seen what you're talking about.
I think I just spend too much time on Reddit because I've seen a lot of these pictures and I'm like you, I'm like, what the fuck? Like that doesn't seem to mesh at all with what I think about them. Yeah, and it really doesn't. There's a popular Nazi furry called Foxler Nightfire who has a group of followers called Furry Raiders. This group parades around in their fursuits and they're accessorized by Nazi armbands. So they have these armbands that look a lot like Nazi ones, but they have like a paw on them. There's a hashtag on Twitter that's hashtag altfurries, which people like this will use.
And that's just another way for them to be so hateful, but their identity not be out there.
Yeah, it does. There's that element of anonymity that probably appeals to these people and gives them fuel. This is, like you said, it doesn't fit with the demographics of furries, and it's very upsetting to the vast majority of the subculture, as, you know, most furries are LGBT and leftist. It also hurts their already fragile reputation because furries don't have the best reputation in mainstream media, and this just makes it worse. It reminds me a little bit of like skinheads in the punk scene because fascism goes against everything that punk stands for, but then skinheads are such a visible part of that subculture and nobody that's truly part of that subculture likes them. This is a similar thing.
Yeah.
Furries and furry forums put a lot of effort into reforming Nazi furries and de-radicizing them. So if you read these articles, a lot of them will talk about how like furries are really young. They're typically people who are bullied, who don't fit in with the mainstream society. So they're easily influenced by these internet groups where they can find community. So a lot of furries have some empathy toward these Nazi furries because it a lot of times comes down to just like mixed up kids, and they'll try to, you know, educate them so that they leave the bad side.
That's tough. That's a tough high road to choose to take.
It's definitely tough, but there is effort that goes into that. And probably that's like the best solution. Like ostracizing them, like sure you want to do that, but that only adds fuel to their fire.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. So yeah, like we said, they are people who are outcasts and, you know, people who don't love themselves, so they might project their own self-hatred toward the LGBT members of furries, or think that like the hate that furries get is like to blame on those LGBT members, so they might like be hateful. Essentially, it's like any other hate group. It preys on the insecure and gives them a community where they feel powerful and superior, and they can be dangerous, just like any other Nazi group, obviously.
Yeah.
In 2017, a popular furry named Dio tweeted a joke about punching Nazis, and the Nazi furries came for her. They threatened her life. They banned her from a local furry convention. They doxed her address, and they showed up at her home armed with weapons.
Oh my God.
So like it's not like they're not fucking around. Like I know people think like furries are funny and like especially Nazi furries, but it's not fucking, anytime you're dressing up as a Nazi, it's not fucking funny at all. And so Dio herself now does work like sussing out Nazi furries at events and conventions. Like she'll try to figure out who's a Nazi and basically try to stop the problem before it happens.
Like,
yeah,
oh my
like this
God.
is a real fucking problem. So good for her for helping out. And in conclusion, like, again, like, I don't want to be talking negative because the vast majority of furries obviously are not Nazis. This is just like a weird problem that this subgroup has that you wouldn't think would be a problem.
This is the parallel universe.
Truly.
I want to go back to the main one, I think, or pick a different parallel one.
Right. Let's just go to a different one. In conclusion, furries are not really any different than any other fandom, but mainstream culture likes to paint them as cringy sexual deviants, but that's not accurate. And I think we can all be a little more accepting and develop a cool fursona. If you have a fursona or made one after listening to this episode, please let us know about it. I want to hear everyone's fursona. I had a blast coming up with mine, and you guys should do it too. It's really fun. I hope you liked this episode.
I did. I learned a lot. Thank you for covering it.
Yeah, it was really fun. I've wanted to do it for a long time. My sources are webmd.com, a Vox.com article called 9 Questions About Furries You Were Too Embarrassed to Ask by Dylan Matthews, a CNN.com article called Inside the Misunderstood Culture of Furries by Tom Patterson, the Otherkin Wikipedia page, weirdcommunity.fandom.com, lemonbrat.com, wikihow.com, a Slate article called What's Going On with Those Nazi Furries by Cameron Dunn, newsweek.com, and the Furry Fandom Wikipedia page. And that's my lesson.
Wow, wow.
Wow,
Thank
wow.
you.
You're welcome.
Should I say mer?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, we love you. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. Tell a friend. And we will see you next week.
Yes, we will.
3, 2, 1. Class dismissed. I forgot what to do.
It's okay. I'll remind you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.